Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Karen from Black Country Chamber. Thank you all for joining us today. As you will have heard just then, we are going to be recording this. So if you shouldn't be here or you don't want to be seen on here, please either get rid of your screens or join us at a later date. We are recording it because we've had a lot of requests. This has been a really popular webinar that we're putting on. I'm sure it's down to Chris's infamously in terms of the award writing and his success of doing so. No pressure, Chris, but because obviously everybody on this recording is going to win one of the awards. I will pass over to Chris in a moment. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping. If you wouldn't mind putting your mics on mute while the presentation is on, and I understand Chris will be taking questions at the end, so I'm sure he'll be happy for you to release your mics at that stage. But for literal purity of the recording, if you could keep your mics on mute until that time. So I'd like to introduce Chris Leggett from Osborne Communications. As I said in my prelim, no pressure, Chris. He's doing a fantastic job in terms of the award writing, and we know that from experience at the British Chamber Awards last year, because several people who he helped with their writing of the awards were successful in winning them. So I'm sure all of you will be equally so. I look forward to seeing all your applications to our awards this year, and particularly with the thanks to the hints and tips that Chris no doubt is going to give us today. So Chris, if it's okay, I'll pass over to you now.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you to talk you through what I hope will be a useful half-hour or so workshop session on award writing. It can be a massive opportunity for businesses looking to market themselves, but we understand as experienced award entrants, organisers and winners that there's quite a lot of stress that leads up to the application and the writing stage, long before the excitement and the glamour of the awards night. So what we'll do over the course of, What we'll do over the course of the next 25 minutes or so is we'll talk about some of the scenarios, why people should enter awards. It's fantastic that you've all joined this afternoon, but it's worth recapping on what some of the benefits can be, because some businesses find it's very new for them. Think a bit about ourselves, how we've come to already build up quite a strong track record in award success. We've taken you through a 12-step program, our practical tips that my colleague Claire, who's on the call this afternoon, and myself have put together based on our experience, and they're practical personal tips for it. You know, there's no doubt that if it was a simple formula would win every time, we'd be millionaires. But there's certainly some good practice and some helpful advice we can give you. We'll give you some actions to follow from the end of the session, and then also a summary before, as Karen's mentioned there, we'll take some questions. So I think most people on the call probably know why they want to enter, but it's always worth recapping on the good reasons why, particularly because you may have colleagues who are unsure about it. Is it worth the time? Is it worth us even, being named a finalist? Well, we say wholeheartedly yes. It's a busy world out there. We all know how competitive it is to get people's eyeballs, how getting people's attention and their understanding of what it is you offer, and also your qualities, is harder than ever before. So it helps you promote your business or your organisation and gain recognition. As an internal benefit, being part of an award-winning business lifts your staff. It makes them feel that they want to work there. Obviously, there's a whole reason why, a whole swathe of reasons why they want to work with you. But being part of something that's successful and has had recognition from outside helps over the long term to keep the employees motivated and be part of your team. It's always useful to look at your own strengths through the vehicle of doing an awards entry. You can look inwards, look at what you are good at. There may be some opportunities for learning there, but sometimes it's reaffirming to see what your strengths are. We're all competitive. We're out there, whether it's public sector, private sector, you are up against other people. And so to benchmark yourself against other organisations is always a useful exercise. And of course, trying to get your stories out there. People who will win awards or even finalists that's a good story to share through your website, your social media, and through external PR into the likes of Black Country Express and Star, Business Live, or maybe your own titles for your sector. And as we've found, that winning feeling is contagious. It creates a real buzz that can last well beyond the awards night or the week of the awards, but for many months after. And here's a recap of some of that success that we've been able to share. So before we go into some of the tips and advice, just a little bit about Osborne Communications. If you're not aware of us already, we're a team of experienced comms and digital professionals, drawing upon probably close to 50 years plus of experience in this field. We joined the Black Country Chamber in 2020 as a startup. And as you saw at the very end of the video there, we can proudly say that we were named as the startup business in a really competitive field at the awards last November. So far, we've entered award entries for clients across dozens of awards competitions, national, sector and regional. And so far, we've enjoyed 60 finalist placings to date, and that's that's within 12 months. So that's a really good track record. And we've won 12 so far. So I can get my defence in that some of those 60 finalists were up against each other, but nonetheless, we're talking about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 winning, and sometimes that can be in really competitive categories. We have another 5 or 6 to be announced over the next few weeks, so who knows, we may be adding to that. Both Claire and myself have worked across not just external awards, but within in-house company awards, staff awards, and we're probably unique in the Black Country in that not only have we entered awards, we've also staged awards through our own business or our company's awards competitions, and we've even judged awards. So we do understand the process from recognising what an award opportunity might be, getting some notes down for an entry, putting together that draft, getting it signed off, submitted. Then there might be a judging visit, through to actually the drama and the excitement of the big nights, because we've done it from both sides of the process. So what we're going to offer you over the next few minutes is, as I said, a 12-step program. It is purely personal advice to help you here. It's based on our experience of running and entering awards. And it's here really to help you prepare for greater success. You know, it really will come down to what you put down as your entry and what the view of the judges is, but we're helping you to match all that up as best as we can. Just as a plug for Karen and the team, there are only 43 days left until this year's 2022 Black Country Chamber Awards deadline comes for the nominations and the full written submissions via the website. I'm sure if you haven't already checked those out, Karen will share the link. So the first bit of advice we give you is one that may seem curious, but this is really important. If you're going to put together an award entry, try and find someone who wants to write the entry to write the entry. The reason for that is someone who's been a judge and somebody helping to run the awards entry. Sometimes you receive some through that you can just see they don't really know what they want to do. There might be some reluctance. They don't feel comfortable. They might have been asked to write 1,000 words and they only write 50 or 60. It's an obvious thing to do of get somebody who wants to do it to do a task, but it really does come across throughout the whole awards process. I think if you went through all of the awards that we issued in the West Midlands or wider this year, very few of them will have been written with half-hearted or sparse entries. There's got to be something there to meet the criteria, and the best way of starting with that is getting somebody who's motivated to do the task. That energy, that initial enthusiasm, and particularly the knowledge of the business, which they may have to get from others, is integral to your success. There is formality to it, but an award entry has to really have a light touch or a conversational feel, as well as the set information. They're not statutory, perhaps tender-like documents where there's lots of compliance. They should really engage the judge as if you were telling them in a conversational or one-to-one way. Judges have very limited time to review the submissions. I know we like to think that when we submit it, somebody will spend an hour on it. In reality, it could just be a couple of minutes while they're going through a whole host of perhaps 20 or 30 others. So it needs to be written by somebody who's up for that task. And to be clear, if you've got somebody who understands and sets aside the time to do it, you then prevent falling into the trap of putting in shortcuts like, well, it's not on the form, but if you have a look at our website, you'll see the judges won't. Just assume they're not going to take a look. Some do background research. Some certainly will for the judging visits if they come out to meet or speak to you. But at the early stage, they may well be going through 2 or 3 categories, all with 20 entries, and there just isn't the time to go off and investigate for themselves. So this is all hooked in with that thing of wanting to get somebody from the start who's motivated. They'll need to show that passion and detail. And of course, we would say this, but there are external partners out there who are specialists in this, who may well be worth speaking to in order to find somebody who's a specialist in this area. The criteria is essential. That is your route map as to what the judges are expecting. So take the time to read it and take notes. You cannot win the award if you don't meet the criteria. It's as simple as that. You can put together nice things that kind of are alternatives to it, or you can try and say, well, we're not so strong on this, but we have alternatives. But it will be that criteria that is your benchmark to be judged upon. If you break down your submission around each of the points in the judging criteria, that will help you write to the expectations of the judges. And we're all human beings. We might like to accentuate the positives, of course we do, but don't feel, well, we don't really know so much about that, so I'm going to write double on the thing that we are good at. There will be consistent marking, sometimes literally scores against each of the points, and that's what you will be assessed on. You're going to have to outscore everybody else on this, so you need to be, they'll be working to that criteria, so you need to do the same. Particularly within entries where there's a word limit, resist the temptation to go off on a tangent too much. That process is going to take time, so set yourself some clear, achievable deadlines. Obviously, we know when the deadline is for the Black Country Chamber Awards, but you need to really have it done and dusted, say, a week before, so that will take you to around the 22nd, 23rd of June. There may be an element of last minute, particularly with holidays starting to be taken over the next month or so, but really start from there and work back with a very simple plan of what you're going to do to get it finished. It's going to take sign-offs, amendments. There might be a senior person who will have a different view on things and factor in that time. And also, write your narrative, but leave some spaces for the facts and the evidence to be prepared. Writing submissions takes time, but if you are going to struggle to submit it, again, there's an opportunity there for partnering, perhaps within your team or within an external partner. Award entries really are stories. They have a start, a middle and an end, and that they have really, you're putting together a short argument as to why you're a winner. They can't judge you based on what they can't see, so it has to be there in the form, and you need to tell it in a clear, concise way, working to that criteria. So we've got some simple questions here for you to think through. Think about your business purpose, what the purpose of the award is and how you match it up as an organisation. How did you meet it? What were the results? Give the audience a bit of a taste of the direction. What are your future plans? And really, what's unique about you, your organisation in your sector or in your region? All of those things are part of that conversation as to why you should outscore perhaps a business that's very similar, a mile down the road, does a similar line of products. If you put together those things, it could be the experience of the team, it could be some standout case studies, it could be some innovation, some tech, could still be about how you've adapted since the pandemic and are helping your customers in more ways than ever before. All of those things that are unique to your organisation should be in your entry. This is one where, depending on whether it's a written Word document or whether it's one that is on an electronic form, give some thought as to what you can put together that illustrates that. You may be limited, you may not be able to do a lot in an online form, but you could certainly put together some simple tables of numbers or progress that shows turnover, profit, staff retention numbers. Do that in a way that just breaks it up from being sentence after sentence. You may well be able to add an amendment document to it or an additional information, and that may be one where you can visually present your achievements. You may well be able to do it in the form, but put yourself in the shoes of the judges. They may be looking through 20 or 30 entries. They may be, nervous that they're going to miss something. If you can spell it out to them as something that's eye-catching, you're well on the way to getting their attention. It's a great way to display information. Figures can be shown in an easily understandable way, and it can also help with the word count. If you can say something that might take 200 words in a simple short chart or an illustration, then that helps you towards meeting those restrictions on the amount of words you can use. We mentioned the facts earlier. The facts really are what should speak for your entry. Quite often when you're judging, you see phrases that are really nice to read but don't really mean anything. That could mean we have an individual who goes above and beyond. Nothing is too much. They always make time for people. They're nice things to hear, but they're generalizations. If you've got some facts or figures about how the person or the organization has done that. During COVID, we made sure no customer was out without service for more than an hour, or we made sure that all inquiries, even though we were home working, were responded to within 24 hours or whatever was reasonable. Those sorts of things say far more than just a generalised statement that really isn't precise enough. You may well want to have numbers, so that's quantitative data, or comments and feedback which are qualitative, so that's numbers and opinions, if you like. That's always great to read if you're a judge. Anything that's external, not just us saying it, listen to this from our key client or from our apprentice who's joined us or from somebody who's been with us for 30, 40 years. This is their version of it. All of those are great for the judges. You may claim, for example, your customer service program is excellent, but you need a stat to back that up. What's a number that speaks for the success of it? As we've touched upon there, testimonials are always great to read. It will strengthen your submission and help you to stand out and add some colour and precise detail. So you need to get that data in as quickly as possible. It really is a case that the data is going to be one of the key cornerstones of your submission. You need to factor that time in, as we've talked about, but it will arm you, and I think it should take the pressure off trying to come up with lots and lots of different statements if you've got the numbers there to back them up. Think also if you're in the process business, inputs, outputs, and outcomes, if you like. So if you're able to give an indication of how much time or money has been invested, good stuff to include. How many people have benefited out there? Is it that you provide a service that looks after homes with 10,000 people in every week? Or do you have, I don't know, events that are attended by 50,000 people over the course of the year? All of those give people an idea of scale. And then if you do internal surveys or any sort of surveys that monitor and benchmark things, put in some scores and stats that are in there that will help illustrate that story. That is a horrible sinking feeling when you realise you thought it was 100 words in a form, it's 1,000 words, or you thought it was 1,000 words and you've only got 150 to work with. Pay close attention to the word limit. If it's an online form, perhaps put in some dummy copy to see what comes up. There's a few out there at the moment that require limits on characters, which I'm not sure anybody ever really in everyday business uses. Oh, can I have a document please of 1,000 characters? But that might be how the electronic system is set up. So if you can get those down early on in the process and then try and plan and write to those as you go, you need to stick to them. You can't, particularly in electronic form, do 500 in a section that will only take 300. It will bust, and it will probably give you a little red note to say you can't submit until it's trimmed. And then similarly, if you put together a Word doc that is overweighted to some sections, the judges are going to be frustrated that they are being asked to read too much on one section and not enough on another. Could be they tell you how many points there are. I know some of the chamber ones will say 25 points for this section, 25 for another, and so on. And you need to make sure you use your word limit wisely. There is an art to that, but the more you write, the more you'll be able to do that. Spread your information across the sections as much as possible in order to get those scores if the judging is transparent. And throughout all of that, we appreciate, particularly in very specialised industries, there's a lot of jargon. Your judge might be somebody who's experienced in that. It might be somebody from a sponsor who doesn't work in your area. It might be a lawyer, solicitor, an HR company, and they don't understand some of the terminology. So if you can, try and limit your abbreviations or spell out what they are first and then use them thereafter. People working in your sector may not be able to do the job without knowing what a POS is. Everyone in engineering, I'm sure, knows what a CAD drawing is, but don't assume your judges do. You don't have to tell them what a pen is or what a building is, but you do need to perhaps spell out the relevance of some of these things and explain what they are. That will help them to not only understand, but evaluate you properly as they look at all your hard work translated into your entry. You will probably find, and I think this happens at least on 2/3 of the entries that we come across, that you're asked to summarise your entry. It's quite a nice one to do first. We say do it last. You might feel, well, at least I can get off the mark by telling my story. You need to be able to do it in an essential way. And really, as it's the first thing the judging panel read, you should make sure that it's a summary of all the entry that follows. So present it first, but do it last, picking together the key points of what they're about to read. Do the hard miles first, get those done with the story, then you can summarise what you've achieved. A few short, punchy sentences where you perhaps don't give away the crown jewels of what's to follow, but you at least give a taste of it, will grab the attention of your audience, who may, again, be halfway or to the end of a reading process that's gone on for hours, or in some cases, they may have spread it across a couple of days. It's frustrating, particularly in the age of spell check, that you may have lots of typos, spelling errors that make it harder for the judges to read. There's no judgment that you may have issues around communicating. That's not what the matter in hand is, but your judges are doing this, perhaps additional to their day job, while having one eye on trying to get a good winner for the finalists. If you can put your entry through Word, run editor, review the text, then when you paste it into your entry, it's ready to go. Do all that before you press submit. Some electronic vehicles for awards entries now allow you to edit afterwards, but if you've done that first, that will just be on the side of the judges, that they need to be able to go through it as smoothly as possible. All of what we've just said there, there's tools that can help you make sure that your grammar and everything is solid enough for the entry to be able to be read at pace. It might be that somebody within the organisation is a fresh pair of eyes who can be an informed reader about something that could be very specialised. If it makes sense to them as an outsider, then you're halfway there to being able to submit. And of course, we always need to anticipate that how somebody coming to it fresh sees it, it's how the judges will experience all your hard work. As we touched upon with the video earlier, one of the things that we're very clear on is if you can get even a little bit of award success, that might be being named finalist for the first time. It could be your organisation hasn't won awards in the past, or even had any recognition as a finalist. You can start to get into quite a contagious winning habit. And the best clients that we work with are those that, perhaps like a football manager who always wants to win and be successful. As soon as they've picked up one trophy, they want to go on to the next one. We all know what a horrible feeling it is, particularly when you've got everybody there in black tie and you're not successful. But it really is a maxim that you have to keep going in order to succeed on this. Of course, we would say this, I understand that, but I think it's a good business mentality to get into, that you enter as many awards as possible. You learn from in each experience what seems to work, where have you hit a brick wall. It could be that some judging processes, particularly if it's a member organisation like the Chamber, may do this. I'm not clear on this, but certainly one within your sector or your industry, they may well be on your side to offer some feedback. If they do, take up that chance. And it's that old maxim that the more you practice, the luckier you will get. As we touched on at the start as to why to enter, they are an opportunity to get recognition and engage. And really, we feel that particularly as marketers or people who are communicating on behalf of a business or are there to see it succeed, it's a challenge to be relished. It's not easy, but you will see that once you get 2, 3 or 5 entries in, you can start to get a feel for how the process works. So it's great that the video from this is going to be accessible, and also I think we'll speak to Karen about perhaps sharing the presentation deck. Here's a summary of some of the actions to follow, particularly if you've got one eye on getting an entry in the Chamber Awards. I'll say it again, June the 30th, you've got 43 days. First one up, it's an obvious one, but take a look at the categories and the criteria. Really important. That is your template to work to, and you need to stick to that as much as possible. Set your own personal plan, and that could be scribbled on a piece of paper. It could be a Gantt chart. It could be a Google Doc that you share with colleagues. Something that gives you some clear deadlines, and be realistic with yourself. If you know that this is going to be last minute, try and get it done so that you're within sight of finishing at least 10 days before the date. It's very hard under pressure to write something of quality when the clock is ticking and it's, say, the day of the submission. Think about it as a story, as we've touched upon there, a persuasion and, in part an argument, but also an illustration of facts, figures, and incidents that show why you are the winner. Have that data at your fingertips. If it's stuff that you need others to find, set that wheel in motion so that you can start to piece that together, weave all those great facts and statistics into your document. Proofread it, check the word limit, be thorough, just as you would if it was a piece that was written on behalf of your CEO or your senior shareholders or stakeholders in the organisation, because the judges will need to be able to read it and assess it based on it being clear to them. Get that sign off if you're not independent and able to do it for yourself. Make sure that you've got other pairs and eyes and you're ready in good time. And I hope that all of this helps arm you so that you enjoy the process of it and get into that winning habit. So to summarise before we open it up for some questions, and thank you very much for your time. We appreciate that you're all busy, so it's great you could join us this afternoon. Awards, we firmly believe, are great vehicles in order to help your business to stand out, market your strengths, and raise awareness with both a target or larger audiences, particularly as we all know, as the world is moving at a faster pace than ever. It helps you stand out from the crowd and get the attention of people you're looking to work with, to have clients, or to be partners. An award is a nice benchmark for that. Internally, it can mean the world to people on your team, particularly those at grassroots, where they think, yeah, this is great. We've got a badge of honour here that we're recognised either as a finalist or, if you go all the way, as a winner. Great for morale particularly around those who you rely on and who do go above and beyond for you in the organisation. To know they're part of an award-winning team and to have that visualised in the organisation or shared externally is great. If you are successful, and we've seen this happen time and again, this can be something that is a calling card for the business or creates a really good mood for a feel-good factor that lasts. There are specialisms that are needed to be followed in order to get that success, but they are ones you can learn. I hope if nothing else you take from today, and both Claire and I have been in the room when judges have assessed forms, please don't assume they're going to go off and do extra homework to look up on your business. It has to be there or signposted in a way that they're able to understand at face value. We're clear that success breeds success, so it's a process you can learn, refine, improve as you go, and it might be that you set yourself a goal of entering 10 awards between now and the end of 2023, for example. Those sorts of realistic tasks will help you to learn and succeed. And obviously this is one that we're clear as to how we could be able to help you. It is something that, particularly as we're all adjusting to a very fast-moving economic environment, there may be some efficiencies of working with a partner for this. Final thought from us is there really isn't anything like seeing somebody, either as an individual, a team, a business, or perhaps a partnership, recognised for their achievements with an award and then buying into that success and that recognition. So we hope you enjoy that winning feeling, and for now we wish you all the best and good luck with your entries. But for now, thank you very much. And I've not been able to follow the chat there, but if there are any questions, we'll be happy to take those now.
Thanks, Chris. I have put in the chat the link to our business awards as you recommended, so thank you for that. I don't know whether you mentioned, but it's 43 days and until the closure of entries for the awards, June the 30th, with the event actually being on the 16th of September at Wolverhampton Racecourse. So it would be great to see all of your entries in the meantime and to see you at the event, of course. Thanks, Leah. She thinks it's been brilliant, the webinar, so thank you for that. Has anybody got any questions for Chris? Of course, asking him to write your reward for you, or whatever it may be. We will send out the slides, Chris, if you want to let us have those. And if anybody does want to watch or listen again, please let us know and we can send it out to you. We've got a few people to send the recording to already. So
that's great. Yes, of course, Karen, that'd be brilliant.
Thank you. I think Leah's just about to leave us. She has. And has anybody got any questions? Obviously, everybody knows everything there is to know now, Chris. You've done such a great job. And hopefully we'll see. Oh, Rachel's raised her hand. Rachel, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
Hi, Rachel. Nice to see you again.
I was just wondering if you've got any tips for if you get past the shortlisting process and you get invited to some kind of interview or meeting with the judging panel. Have you got any sort of tips for how to approach that if you're given, let's say, a 15-minute online interview as part of the judging process, as you've been on the judging side yourself?
Well, yes, we do. I mean, my colleague Claire's been with this call, and we've supported some clients through a recent, in fact, the first face-to-face judging visits that we've had, obviously, since 2020. So it is fresh in our minds. I think some of the principles, I'll ask Claire to add to this in a moment, but I think off the top of my head, some of the principles of what you've seen there are worth following again. So what we recommend clients do is prepare a presentation. Apologies, it's PowerPoint again, but something where you give a short intro to the business and then you recap on what the criteria was and revisit what you put in your written submission, and then share that with them again as you kind of talk them through it. But I think the advantage of them being able to get this additional visit is you tell them some new stuff, or you introduce somebody to the session that wasn't in the form. You might bring an apprentice in or an experienced person. It's your visit session, so those sorts of things it's really your chance in the spotlight to kind of seal the best possible presentation you can. And that's where you put in something additional. It maybe you do something interactive, like you play them a video, or you may have a client testimonial that you can do, something like that. But it's a nice problem to have. And if it's done digitally through a video call, we've had that over the last year. I'll let Claire come in a moment, but the worst thing you can do is don't prepare anything. And I'm afraid, as judges, if you do go onto a call with somebody, and this can be awkward within an organisation if somebody senior is taking a lead, you, as a judge, your heart sinks when you walk in and somebody says, now, I'm just going to speak off the cuff, and I haven't got any notes. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Because you can quite often find by the end of the session, you had all sorts of fascinating stories, but nothing that was relevant to the criteria. So there's a few dangers and risks to almost thinking, well, we've done the entry, we'll just kind of have a chat. You have to go again, recap on the criteria, use it as an opportunity to add something new, but structure it. And unless somebody is absolutely world class, don't let them speak off the cuff, because it rarely is. So go on, please. I don't think.
Yeah, I think I agree totally with everything Chris has just said. Having been judged before in my previous role, I'd really recommend getting somebody in externally that has been part of your programme. So whatever your award is about, the theme, if you can get somebody in that's perhaps been touched by your programme or been involved in it as a supplier, a customer, a member of the community that's benefited, that really comes across well to the judges, because it's not just saying this is what we think as a business. It's being externally verified as well by somebody else, so that I find that works really well, and has been kind of award winning in my previous role. So that would be my top tip.
I think that, as I don't know what the Chamber's plans are, and I won't put Karen on the spot too much, but you probably can expect them to be more likely to do a personal visit from here on for some award entries. They were certainly last autumn for the 2021 Chamber Awards, and also some industry ones that we helped clients with. It was done virtually on video. But if somebody, I think it's one that, again, we're trying to instill in everybody on the call, and particularly with our clients, is these are real opportunities. You've got outside informed judges coming to take a look at your organisation. You never know where that might lead, but like all good hosts, you have to make an effort. And if somebody turns up and thinks, because of course it's an additional thing for the judges, whether it's reviewing your form, going through it with the organisers as to who they've selected, and particularly if they then do come to do a visit, their inboxes are filling up. They've got calls that are waiting for them. They've got their day job. And I can only repeat the same point. Your heart sinks when you walk in and you think, this isn't going to go well, because they're not bothered about making an effort with us. I don't expect people to put on a full light show or anything that is, over the top. But you have to enter into the spirit of it. There's an award at stake, and if your assumption is, well, we'll just wing it, then you could win it, you could be brilliant, but it's leaving a lot to chance. And I think it's also, from my experience, testing the patience of the judges.
Thanks, Chris. I'll just add to that as well, because I've judged quite a lot of the Chamber Awards in the past. Please don't be boring. There is nothing worse than when we come to see you and it's just like, please be enthusiastic about the award that you're going for. Sound as though you're really passionate. And I have to say, the quality of the chocolate biscuits is always key as well. So, but I don't want to influence. The email address I've put, Jason has put in the chat, is there an email address for any questions that come up during the writing process? That's regarding the BCC or the Chamber Awards. There's an email address that you can come through to us, Jason, to ask any questions during the writing process. Do you mean in terms of your application? Wherever you are, Jason. Do you want to unmute, Jason? And oh yes, it is. Yeah, we can't influence, of course, at any time. I'm sure if you want to engage with Chris separately, I'm sure he can discuss that with you. But in terms of your application to us, no, we wouldn't normally influence that in any way, because obviously we can't be seen to be showing favour to anyone above anybody else. But in terms of actually how the process works, yes, of course, we can help you with any of that. I don't know whether that helps you or not, but apologies, and please email me separately if you want to discuss that further. Has anybody else got any questions at all for either Claire or Chris?
Well, just to add, if I may, onto that point, Karen, and I'm sure Claire will agree with this, is events and awards organisers are on the side of, they want to see good entries come in, they want to see people do well, they want to see a room full of people who are all up for celebrating, whether that's a lunchtime one or an evening event, or of course a black tie one. So there is a dialogue to be had there, but you're right, they don't tend to enter into a discussion about the detail. But if you've got a question about would it be okay to do this, or can we attach, this is a recent thing that you can sometimes attach additional information, the formatting of that, I think it'd be fair to say that we're always impressed by how much time awards organisers put into trying to drum up more interest, get people engaged with it, and get people over the line of getting some written submissions in, because it all adds to the event.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we know how pressured it is to do these. We know how you want to put so many words in, and we put a limit on them. So I apologise for that. But we hopefully have so many entries. We need to limit the words. Otherwise, it'll be the rest of our lives doing the judging. But we most certainly look forward to receiving all of your applications. I think again we mentioned June the 30th was the deadline. Was that 43 days away? Was it? So. Lisa, you've just mentioned getting feedback from your last year's nomination. Again, if you want to, if you are a chamber member, contact your account manager and we can do that through them. Or if you want to email awards at Black Country Chamber, we can organise that for you as well. I don't know at what stage your application, what stage you got to, but by all means, we can give you some feedback on that. I have to say the most hotly contested award is the Small Business Award and the Business Startup Award. So well done, Chris, for getting that last year. We normally receive ridiculous amounts of applications for those. So if anybody is thinking of entering this year, please get your application in as soon as possible, because we'd love to see it. If anybody else, go on, sorry, Chris.
Just to add to that, on behalf of Claire and myself, we were absolutely chuffed to win it. We don't, we don't assume we've got a head start on anybody else. So we can vouch the fact that even though we write a few, we get to attend a few, and we get to hear about people we've worked with succeeding in them. I can promise you that it's genuine, that when you win one yourself, you don't stay very professional and level about it. So yes, you do get excited. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being here today. Chris and Claire, thank you particularly for putting this together for us. Very, very grateful. I'm sure everybody has found it really beneficial. I know I have from a judge's perspective as well. So it's quite interesting, and I look forward to seeing all the points that Chris has mentioned today coming into your applications. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. If you do want any more information, please contact us and say awards at Black Country Chamber. And if you do want to have a copy of the audio for this webinar, we'll more than happily share that with you or any of your colleagues as well. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Claire, too. And good luck, everybody, in your applications for our awards or anybody else's awards that you may be going to. And thank you very much for your time, and hopefully see you again soon. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.